Today's sponsor of the Vision Quest podcast is 920 Hat Company. Leather patch hats are in, and 920 Hat Company is here to hook you up with your very own custom hat. All patches are lasered on top-grade genuine leather and on popular brand hats like Richardson and FlexFit. Whether you're looking to show off your business or want a one-of-a-kind hat for yourself, 920 Hat Company can do it all. All the hats are handcrafted right in the Fox Valley, but worn across America. With over 500 hats in stock, they guarantee fast turnaround times. Honestly, Liam, looking at these hats, solid, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I like them.
I like that patch itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one-of-a-kind stuff. I know his name's Trevor. He does great work. He's actually gotten I think we got a knit hat coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got that coming. So we're really excited to have these guys on board as a sponsor. So get down to check them out on Facebook. I believe they're on Instagram. Check them out, man. They got the best hats, I think, in the Fox Valley, if not in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So get down to 920 Hat Company on social media and check them out. And we are live. I always just end it abruptly because I want to cut to the chase, man. This is another episode of Vision Quest podcast, and I am joined by none other than Dean Peterson of the Rutgers. Right now, Rutgers.
Right now.
Soon to be Hawkeye, right? Exciting news, so congratulations on that. Not an easy decision to make. I respect it. It is what it is. How are things going for you? How's your Easter?
Easter's been pretty good. I got to take some photos with my girlfriend, my little brother, and I don't know if you saw my Instagram story. I had this nice anime sword that I was posted up with.
I saw that, yeah.
I was having some fun. I won't lie. It's been a fun Easter.
That's awesome. So you're home? Are you at home, like parents' home kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm at my home for Easter right now. Obviously, my mom's cooking up Easter dinner as we speak. So
Nice. Yep. Well, we won't hold you back too long then, because you got to get into that dinner, man.
I am hungry. I won't lie. I can eat too. I can eat.
What is it? What is it? Ham? She making ham?
It's Italian stuff. She's got some penny vodka, some meatballs going, a lot of pasta, a lot of good stuff. Nice. A lot of good stuff. Yeah.
We just had my wife's Sicilian. We just had her dad's 85th, my father-in-law's 85th birthday up north, as well as Easter. So we had like pulled pork, we had porchetta, we had all kinds of crazy just meats going on everywhere. It's always awesome going up north there because there's porchetta, and then there's pasties. I don't know if you guys know what pasties.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So both sides of my family they're both from Sicily. So they came over on the boats in like the early 1900s and stuff.
Yeah.
And whatever. So, Ellis Island and all that. So I get it.
Yeah. They went, so they actually went up the Canada way. They went up through Canada and they came down through like the upper Michigan area. So that's why they wound up in the frozen tundra way up north.
You don't hear about that too often. You hear about them coming to the East Coast, and that's kind of where, like New York City and all them. So
I don't know if it was just something where it was just like a little detour, but they just thought Canada was a little nicer that time of year, I guess, when they came across. But Dean, thank you again for joining us. It's been kind of a wild ride for you. But definitely. I want to start out kind of talking about where you came from, how you started, like what was one of the first sports you ever played that you remember, like just in the yard or anything like that?
I've always been in love with like baseball, honestly.
Nice.
Like a lot, like everyone like used to play football, whatever, but me and my little brother would always play wiffle ball, and we'd go at each other. And this one time, I'll even tell you, it was a funny story. I struck him out on like 3 pitches, and he threw the wiffle ball at my face, and I've got a scar somewhere on here that you can see it. But we had so much fun. We probably played it for we still play it today. We go out backyard, play some wiffle ball, have some fun. So that's kind of where my love for baseball started. I played baseball when I was younger. At the same time, I started boxing. At the same time, I started wrestling when I was like 4. So,
wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We had a couple other guests that had done boxing as well, which I find interesting because it's a more of a light-footed sport, right? You gotta be good with your footwork. So that's interesting. I like that. So baseball, not different. I was a baseball guy. I played soccer. I played baseball. I played golf. I mean, I did a bunch of stuff. Did you
did you find yourself like thinking, I'm going to be an MLB baseball player someday, especially with as good as you were with a wiffle ball,
I was actually really good at baseball too, because I was on like one of the top travel teams or whatever. And
Nice.
I was like 10 or 11 years old at that point. I'd been playing it for like, 5-6 years at that point.
Yeah.
But what I would do is I would only show up for the games because I'd rather go to wrestling practice, and the team didn't like that very much. So I just told them, you know what? I don't feel like sitting in the dugout. I'm going to go just wrestle. And they were like, okay, we get it. We get it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's that same thing for Liam. He wanted to do soccer. He was trying it, but he missed wrestling practice. He didn't even want to miss wrestling practice. So he's like, yeah, no, I'd rather be there. So that's cool. All right. So we know now that wrestling kind of bleeds into the baseball a little bit, and we start to kind of see the wrestling light. Where did wrestling start for you?
So my dad was running a rec practice over at the high school, and when I was like 4 years old. So they got me with all the other. I think at the time I weighed like 35 pounds. I was super small. So they put me with all the other 4-year-olds. I've told this story a million times.
Yeah,
I was beating up on all the 4-year-olds. So they're like, you know what? We're gonna go put you with the 6-year-olds, and I got my butt kicked. So I was crying. I'm like, to like my dad, and I got in the car. I'm like, I need to go back and I need to beat those kids. And that's kind of where I fell in love with it. I'm like, because I've been competitive since I was little. I'm like, I need to go back and I need to beat those kids. I need to get on the mat again, get better, beat those kids. So that's kind of where it all started for me.
So where were you? Was it more of like started out as like a rec thing, like a rec league type thing for you when you were little, or did they see something like, hey, he might actually be kind of good. We'll put him in something a little better than just a rec league.
So my first year was basically rec. And at the time I lived in Barnegat, and Southern was a town over, and they let me wrestle for the Southern team. And then after I beat 2 kids up, I got kicked off the team because they found out I lived in Barnegat. So someone wrote to the place and was like, he doesn't even live in Southern. And like Southern's 10 minutes down the road. Right. So then I got kicked out of rec or whatever. And then I was going to go to the state tournament, like the New Jersey Youth State Tournament my first year. And someone convinced my dad not to send me. So then I went a year later when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I ended up winning it the first time I was there, like 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
So I guess, because we all know that wrestling fans get crazy, but it's crazier out on the East Coast, right? And there's different levels of crazy. We're starting to kind of notice it with college wrestling right now.
There are some crazy dads, especially in New Jersey. I mean, even you saw Jordan Burroughs tweeting about it earlier this year because he was at the New Jersey State Tournament with his boys, and they were like giving him stuff about it because he lives in PA. I'm like, just it's like a 6-year-old kid. Let him wrestle. What's the problem? Who cares? Actually, like it's 6 years old, but these like dads get so upset and worked up about it for no reason. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, they're all going to be Olympic champions someday. Like everyone's going to be on the podium at the Olympics, and that's the problem. And I'll be honest with you, I got caught up in that a little bit. Like you're taking pride in, because I was a little bit of a coach at one point and take pride in what he's doing, but then you're like, well, I really want him to do this. He gets sucked into that position. It's like, man, you got to step away, and that's why we found good coaches. All that stuff. You don't even have to worry about it. It's easy, parents. You can literally send your kids into a wrestling room and just walk away.
Yeah, you don't have to watch the entire practice. They'll be all right. Trust me. I mean, look, my dad was very involved too at the beginning, but he learned to take a step back and everything, especially once I got to high school, college. He took a step back and he's like, yep, just let him be. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's right. It's an intense sport already, right? Like, and your kids going through the most intense part. It's intense for us parents too. And don't get me wrong, it's still intense for us, but like sometimes you gotta leave it off the kids. Now, what was that? Was that kind of a feel for you? Like when you were younger, was your dad a little intense? Like I was like, I never went overboard with Liam where I like berated him on the mat. I think I got upset one time and I slammed my hand on the mat. And then my wife kind of told me, she's like, you gotta stop doing that. I was like, what? She showed me. I was like, yes, I gotta stop doing that.
Definitely, like a little bit like at the beginning, but I kind of like, as a kid, I was like, you know what, just let me wrestle. I've kind of said the same thing my entire life, is like, just let me wrestle. Like even when I got to college, I told the coaches, like, look, I just want to worry about wrestling. I want to worry about nothing else. I just want to wrestle. You know what I mean? That's always been my biggest thing.
That's awesome. What was the most memorable portion of like your first tournaments as a kid? I mean, it's hard out east. It's not like you could go into a basic wrestling room where we would look at it and be like, oh wow, look at all the beginner kids. But you go in there and out on the East Coast, it's like, holy cow, these kids know technique already.
Trust me, there was always good kids and there was always new kids popping up. You know what I mean? The competition was always deep at the state tournaments. Like I never was a pinner. I was never like a guy that just ran through the tournament. I would have tough bouts from like the quarterfinals on in like the youth state tournaments. Like it would be an 8-0 match, like a 6-1 match, 5-4. They'd all be close-ish. You know what I mean? Like I was winning them and I was doing good, but it was always a dogfight. It's always a dogfight in Jersey.
Yeah, for sure. I find it a little interesting sometimes, especially with the level. And you see some of the growth as guys come out of high school and they get into college, but like seeing the level of some of these guys even now, and not even just East Coast. I mean, kind of all across the country, but levels have changed, right? Tournaments when I was a kid, there were bullpens, right? You stood in line. Steve Mako talks about a little bit. You get called into this bullpen. You're talking to the dude that you're going to wrestle for the next like 6 minutes or 5 minutes on the mat. You're like, hey man, how's it going? What neighborhood you from? You're like, oh cool. Let's play Legos when we're done here. Yeah, and now it's so intense that even when you go to a normal kids tournament, that it gets a little heated. But what was it like for you? Kind of, and like, did you have a group of friends that also joined into wrestling? Did you find out oh man, Jimmy's doing this too, or whatever? So
I ended up falling into like the group that was actually up north because there was a really, really good club in Jersey called Scorpions. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
The club.
Yeah.
So that's who I ended up wrestling for. Now, I ended up
there.
No, so would you know Joey Oliveri, who's at Rutgers right now? Yep. Joey Oliveri, Anthony Clark, who's at Princeton. There's Gerard Angelo, Nicky Ramo, a lot of those guys that went to Scorpions. Will Guido, who's at like UNC now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a bunch of guys like Dylan Sedanios who's at Virginia now.
Yes. Yes. Dylan.
Yeah. But I grew up wrestling him a lot. We ended up having like a triple overtime match at the state finals, and I don't even know what years, but me and him had some battles.
That's awesome.
Me and him probably wrestled like in a span of like 2 months, probably like 4 or 5 times. It was really insane. And yeah, it was insane. We'd wrestle each other all the time. But no, that's kind of the group that I fell into. So it was kind of like a nice moment, especially like when I got to Rutgers and then Joey O was already committed there. And there were a couple other guys on the team that it's a lot of Jersey kids. So it was kids I grew up wrestling with. So
yeah. Because it sounds like obviously you're running, in a nice, in a good club, you got good partners, things like that. When you were little, were you kind of already, and by little, I mean like 10, 11, almost middle school, but like still a little kid. Were you dreaming about wrestling in college already?
When I was before that, when I was 6 years old, there's a video of me because I used to go and run at my high school track all the time when I was little. That's one of the workouts that my dad would put me through. He's like, you're going to run bleachers and you're going to run on the track because I want you to have strong legs. So I think there's a video of me saying I want to be a 4-time NCAA champ at like 6 years old. And I'm like, I want to dominate. I want to kill people. And I'm like, watching it back, it's so funny. I'm like, I love this. It's just one of those videos I like to go back and rewatch sometimes. So
yeah. No, and so that's kind of interesting too, because like, I mean, different levels. So we talked to some people that come from Georgia, or we talked to some people that come from like North Dakota, and it's different, right? And again, the sauce is a little thicker when it comes to wrestling out on the East Coast. Yeah. So just kind of curious as to when these guys get these dreams in their heads. And some people are like, middle school, high school kind of area. You were 6.
Yeah, no, I was little. I've had that same dream. Basically, it's been my whole life for the most part. Not everything revolves around wrestling for me, but that's how I've basically, it built me into who I am. That's the sport built me into who I am as a person.
So we talked a little bit about your dad. How was your mom with wrestling? Some moms didn't like the fact that their kids are in wrestling.
She just wasn't very involved, and she didn't mind me getting beat up and coming home with whatever. You know what I mean? She was like, he's good at it. I like watching it sometimes, but she doesn't like watching it too much because she gets a little bit. She's like, oh no. She sees like those positions where my knee's getting tweaked, and she's like, no, I can't. I like looks away. She can't watch that. But
so does she go to events like big events? Does she ever has her head in the hand?
Yeah, she came to a lot more events recently, and she's actually in the background when I pinned Richie Figueroa from some of the angles. You can see her like jumping up and down and like grabbing my little sister, and she's like, yes, let's go.
That's awesome.
You can see her like before that, like during when I got taken down, like 2 seconds before that, she's like,
yeah.
And I'm listening.
That's Liam's mom too. Same thing. She can't she just takes special meds. Like she gets nervous.
Oh wow.
And I don't blame her. I mean, because I'm just as worked up and it gets intense sometimes, but she gets to the point where she gets so worked up she has to pace. She's got to pay. She's got to walk around. I'm there with her too. We put on like 20,000 steps each tournament. Like it's crazy.
My dad would always make the joke that we should bring like a portable defibrillator for his chest for like if his heart stops during the match. He's like, shock him, get him back up. I get it though. I get it.
It's tough, and especially like you said, when your mom sees your leg getting tweaked in a certain direction, you're like, oh my god, you just don't want to see you get hurt. But at the same time, though, too, you're like, oh, he's gonna do it, and then dude, that pin was awesome. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. That was sick. But as you're kind of going through the years, then too, and I asked this to everybody, where was the first real in big by? I mean, like a Super 32 or Tulsa Nationals. What was the first big tournament you remember?
The first one that I probably remember was winning the Kickoff Classic right before, because I ended up winning the Trinity that year, but I had been to the Kickoff Classic before and I kind of ran through it. I went to Tulsa Nationals, took second, and I went to Reno when I was like 8 and I won it. So I had won the beginning and the last tournament, but I had never won the one in the middle. So when I went to Tulsa Nationals, I actually beat, I'm trying to think of who it was because he was a Hawkeye.
Oh boy.
No, you know what? It might have been during the thing. It was Shriver, I think.
Oh, Cullen Shriver.
Yeah, Cullen. Yeah. I don't know who I beat in the finals. Yeah, you know who I beat in the finals? He's at Ryder now. He was at Cal Baptist. Was Eli Griffin. That's who
really?
I was beating at Tulsa Nationals to win before I won the Trinity that year. But that was probably the first tournament because I know you were talking about earlier how Mako used to talk to talking to people in the line or whatever. Yeah. But at Tulsa Nationals, you're like in the line with the kids before you wrestle them. Really? And Eli Griffin was like talking smack to me before we wrestled. And I'm like, that was the first time I dealt with anything like that. I'm like, dude, I'm like 10 years old. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I'm like, I'll beat you. We'll wrestle. We wrestle in like 30 minutes. I'll beat you.
Oh God.
It was funny though. And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? I'm ready to wrestle. And he's like getting him out. He's like, I'm going to beat you. I'm like, dude.
So they're eating glass and stuff, biting on nails.
He's like flexing too. He's like, look at my muscles. I'm like, dude,
I beat you. That's awesome. Hey, more power to him, right? He was ready to bring it. But you said you beat him.
Yeah, I ended up beating him 6-1. It was a good match. It was a good match. It was close. He at the time. I mean, we were both really good kids. So
yeah. He gave him a tussle. He gave you a tussle. That's good.
Yep.
Well, that's the fun part. Like, because I was telling you about some of Liam's stuff, all that other stuff that he's done recently or whatever, and you're like, well, I haven't done that. Like Liam's never won a Tulsa National as a kid, and see now this is where you see some of that part of that parent shining through. Like that, does that shit really matter? It doesn't matter, but like at the same point, you're like, man, it would have been cool as a dad to have his kid win that kind of thing, But
at the time, it feels like the biggest thing in the world, but like after a couple months later, you're like, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, what's next?
Yes. And we're going to talk about that because that happens even when you're in high school, because after you win a state title, about a week later, nobody gives a shit anymore. They don't care if you win a state title.
That is literally like, it's the toughest. I think mentally it's one of the tougher times. Like right after states, after you win a state title, it's like, what am I going to do now? What do I do now?
Just came off this huge high, and it's like everybody's like, yeah, whatever, it's next week.
And now, like, I heard my name on the school announcements, and now everyone in the school is not going to know who I am the week later.
Not at all. Walking through the hall, there, everybody knows. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows who I am. That's fine.
It's fine. No big deal.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So when you were, what area did you live in for high school?
I still lived in Barnegat. I've basically been in Barnegat my whole life, but I had asked to go to Southern for high school, and the coach at the time basically told me he didn't want me to go there. So I was like, okay, cool. And my older brother, who also wrestled a little bit, was up at St. John Vianney up in Homedale, which is where Knox is at right now. Okay. So they had never had a state champ. They weren't good at wrestling, but they brought in one of the legendary coaches from the 90s, which is like one of my best friends now, was Tony Caravella and Denny DeAndrea. Obviously, Denny ended up passing a couple months ago, which is pretty sad. But that's kind of where I wrestled for 4 years. Or I didn't even get to wrestle 4 years. I didn't wrestle my senior year of high school, but that's where I wrestled in high school, and I would drive up every morning about an hour to school. So,
oh my God,
yeah, it was a journey. It was long drive.
Was that sacrifice for wrestling? Was that to that was this okay? So because we get around here, we get this stigma of people like, that's way too much. You're doing way too much for your kid. In some eyes it might be right. In someone's field of view, it could be. But when you see something in your kid, and this could be soccer, this could be lacrosse, could be badminton. I don't care if there's someone that could do something really well, you try to advance that, right? And it sounds like that's what your parents kind of understood, because otherwise they're the ones that make that decision ultimately, right?
Yeah. I mean, they did, like hearing from 6 years old that I wanted to be a national champ. They just want to give me every opportunity to be where I wanted to be and get where I wanted to get to.
Right. So, and sometimes, yes, we can be crazy as parents when we do that stuff, but it's that view right there that when we see that our kid has that vision as a child, you're like, do you think they had that vision? I think they did. And we're just trying to facilitate it a little bit for them. So that's cool that they were able to make that happen. We moved. I mean, we literally moved from one town to another. So that way he could be on, a really good team. When you wound up doing that, did you find any difficulties as far as where you lived versus where you're going to school and like friends, things like that? Did you find that you were hanging out up by school longer and then maybe stayed at a friend's house?
The days were definitely longer, but I didn't stay up there a lot. I mean, I didn't have any trouble making friends with the kids up there, which I still talk to the kids that were in my homeroom till this day. Like they were like when I pinned Richie Figs, everyone was like, all right, Dean, we got it. Everyone saw it. What happened? And he was like, give us like the tea of it, give us the rundown. Yeah. But what it definitely like at first, like in the first year, like my freshman year of high school was definitely difficult because I'm getting home at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night after wrestling practice. And I'm just like, I'm dead tired. And they're like, Dean, get upstairs and shower. And I'm like falling asleep on the couch downstairs I can't even crawl. I'm like crawling up the stairs. I'm exhausted. So that was one of the times it was a little bit difficult, but I want to say that I didn't have a choice to go to my high school, like Barnegat High School, but the year before I went into high school, the coach ended up getting arrested for some pretty bad stuff. So I was just trying to stay away from it as much as possible.
Ooh. And I read an article. It's another school. I read an article about another coach that was doing some not so savory stuff. I was over in Jersey, but and he actually had like mob ties. I think it was. I was reading an article about that where
there's some of that in Jersey for sure.
I'm not gonna say I can't remember what school, so I didn't want to tie the two together. But it's like it's kind of odd how this shit happens, but it happens over here too. It's no surprise. But when you started getting into like I would say middle school, things like that, did you have like big growth jumps, like from your 7th grade to 8th grade year? How did that go for you weight-wise?
I think the biggest jump I ever had, because I think my first year of middle school in 6th grade, I was like 65, and then I went like 90 or like 85, and then my last year I think I was like 100 pounds, so I was just on track to basically be a 106 pounder when I got to high school. So I didn't have to like reclass. I didn't have to take an extra year or whatever. I didn't have to get homeschooled, because that's one of the big things in Jersey is kids will like take a year or two before they get to high school and they'll reclass, and then they're a little bit older, which I never got. Not that I don't respect it, but I wasn't a big fan of it personally.
Yeah. And I'm not either. I'm not a huge fan. There are reasons, everyone's got the reason for something, right? But a lot of times when you look at the competition side, it's like, well, he wouldn't have been big enough by the time he was a freshman. So get him on some weights, make him eat some more protein.
Exactly.
Have Liam. The one thing we never did with Liam, and I never say this stuff ever to like pat myself on the back or even, Christina, but I just never saw the advantage of constantly cutting, right? Especially as kids, when they're kids, you're stunning growth. We see the result of it. Some kids in the state here. It is what it is. Some kids, some certain competitions, we cut a couple pounds, but we always wrestled up a weight. Yep. And sometimes he wrestled up a weight and he wrestled up an age group too. So it's just, he was 12. And it's funny. I ask you this because Liam went in from his 7th grade year into his 6th grade into 7th grade year. And he was from 90 pounds to 125 pounds. Right. So it's COVID, right? So these kids are sitting around doing nothing, like you got your headset on and everything. So he's just playing video games. So it is what it is. But then I told him he was 12, and I was like, "You're going into 15U 125 pound weight class." He goes, "Okay." And he got smoked, dude. Like I didn't take him there to win. I was like, "This is what's gonna happen. This is what you're running into. So that way you're ready." And we always did that. Now, I again, if you think your kid's Bo Bassett and you think he's gonna win 4 natties, hey. You do it. You do you, boo. You do what you got to do, right?
You do what you got to do.
Yeah, you do what you got to do. But any other guy on any other given day, just let your kid grow. Let him wrestle and have fun with it. And it's easier said than done because again, I've been in that weird position. But how did your parents deal with Like what was your dad's view on the weight cutting thing?
I have the perfect story for this. So when I was around, I couldn't tell you how old I was. We were at a camp for Jordan Burroughs.
Ooh.
And his driver did not show up. And he lives in Jersey. So my dad was like, we're going back there. We'll drive him back.
Yeah.
So me and him sat in the back seat and watched Family Guy for like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, no, 4 or 5 hours just watching Family Guy. And at the time, he was writing an article about how kids shouldn't cut weight. And
really?
That rubbed off on my dad. So he was like, Dean, I don't really want you cutting too much weight. So I cut a little bit. I would say I cut most of my weight 8th grade in my freshman year of high school. But after that, I wasn't cutting a ton of weight. I never cut what some of these kids cut. I never cut more than 15 pounds. That never even a thought. The most I cut probably in high school was to make 106. And that was a struggle. It was probably like 11, 12 pounds. And that was, for me, that was a lot. But even once I got to college, I don't cut too much. You know what I mean? Right now I'm walking around like 131, 132.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm a big proponent of that. I love that. And again, I'm not here to bag on parents, but some of y'all need to calm down with the whole weight cutting with your kids because it's not really worth it. And plus, there's no college recruiter that's watching your 10-year-old. So just remember that.
Cutting 30, 40 pounds probably isn't the best for your body down the line anyway. Ever. You know what I mean? Like, that's like growing up, even though like a lot of kids in Jersey cut a lot of weight. Like you'll hear stories about how parents had to like hold these kids up to hop onto the scale. Like it was pretty gross, pretty disgusting at times hearing that the weight that some of these other kids had to cut. Cause like, I don't want to say I'm a baby when it comes to cutting weight, but like I would like lose like 2 or 3 pounds and be like, I have to lose 2 or 3 pounds. But like in the grand scheme of things, I'm not losing anything close to what these kids are cutting right now.
Yeah, it's nuts. And there's some of the high school guys. There's some high school coaches that have requirements for these kids. They're like, I need you here. I need you to do this. It's like, do you though? Do you really? Can you take an L in that spot? Just put the other guy in, see what happens if he's not that good, kind of thing. But
and high school is the worst time for the kids to be cutting in the first place. Because like my junior and senior year, I didn't cut anything. Like when I was wrestling 2026, I could eat a pack of Skittles and down a Mountain Dew and be on weight. You know what I mean? And still make weight, and I'd be all right. But like. Even like for the certifications, like people would like change the numbers, change your height, change your weight, just to like certify them for these weight classes they didn't need to be at.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's crazy. And I think again, if you're going for something that's highly competitive, a U.S. Open or an Olympic trial, things like that. Yeah, because there's only there's only so many weight classes, but I get it that you're trying to make it be competitive as possible. But yeah, when it comes to the kid stuff, it's a little crazy. So when you got to high school and what was your schedule like? So I don't understand. I don't fully know exactly how New Jersey rules are when it comes to high school competitions. Cause our public schools, if you're WIA, you can't go outside, except for 2 events and it has to be okayed. Right. So you have to get the athletic director, things like that. What was your school able to attend and do for tournaments? Where were you guys able to go?
So we weren't really able to do much because our school kind of sucked at wrestling. So we didn't get invited to a lot of good tournaments. But after I won my state title my sophomore year, so freshman year I lost in the state finals to Joey O, which was, a great match. And he was one of those guys I walked out there and I'm like, I've been knowing this kid my whole life. And it's like, oh man, I got to wrestle like one of my best friends growing up. This sucks. But after I won my state title my sophomore year, junior year, we got invited to Beast of the East, and that was like our big tournament for the year, whatever. And I ended up winning that or whatever. But we never really had like huge tournaments we went to. So like we had like Sam Cali. We didn't really get to go to like Escape the Rock in the other one? Escape the Rock, and then there's another one in Powerade. We never got to go to those. We kind of really. It was just basically Jersey competition for me. I mean, in the off season, I would go to like Super 32 and those other tournaments to get competition, but we didn't really like our school schedule wasn't anything like that tough, to be real.
Yeah, but you guys, I mean, just to say that you're wrestling in Jersey alone, I mean, you got tough competition either way. So you really had to kind of go outside of your comfort zone during the off season then to be able to go and chase some of those guys down. So where were some of the top? Was it the usuals? Was it like U.S. Opens and doing little things like that, or where did you guys wind up going when you were trying to get on the scene a little bit?
Super 32 was the big one for me. That's where we ended up going. So my 8th grade year, I ended up, if you look at my 8th grade year, I think it was 98 pounds or something like that. It's actually, it's a crazy bracket. It's got Jesse Mendez in it, Levi Haynes, Peyton Keller, Vinny Zervin. There's just a lot of, like, if I sent you this bracket, you'd be like, oh my God, there's so many college guys that are like All-Americans, national champs right now that are in this bracket. I ended up beating Mendez like 5-1. That's my only time I ever wrestled him. That's one of my, in 8th grade though, it doesn't, it's whatever. And then I ended up, I think the next time I went to Super 32, I was 120 pounds. I ended up wrestling Jordan Williams in the semifinals and losing in the last seconds. He hit me, they used to call him the Iceman.
Yeah.
I was up 3-2 with 30 seconds left. He hit me with like a super duck. Got me. And I was like, oh my God. So that was one of those tournaments. Super 32 was the big one for sure though.
Were you much into freestyle? Did you like freestyle that much?
I would go to freestyle tournaments and I would just have like up and down performances just because, like, not that I didn't get the style. I didn't train it enough. I wasn't training freestyle and Greco enough to like be good at it. So we have Northeast regions, which is like our big qualifier tournament. And the one time I went, I beat Cooper Flynn the day before 10-2. And then I was winning 8-0 against Anthony Noto, and he ended up beating me 10-8. And then the next day I have to wrestle Cooper Flynn on the backside. He gets me in a leg lace in the first 20 seconds. I lose 10-0.
Oh,
so that was like, I wasn't consistent and great at freestyle, to be real. So,
well, and I do look at, sometimes the duels, you look at junior duels and things like that when it comes to all the Fargo talk and Fargo stuff. Like, Jersey's always been kind of up there, kind of thing. Never been real dominant. So I kind of even wonder if that's kind of like a passion anybody in Jersey has.
It's not trained very often at all. I mean, my senior year of high school, because I didn't end up wrestling the state tournament my senior year because it got pushed back because of COVID, and I ended up getting my nose is still crooked. So I was playing baseball. Yeah. I was playing baseball, and my brother hits a fly ball. I lost it in the sun. Right in the nose. I had 2 deviated septums, nasal valve collapse. I broke my nose. So I needed to get the surgery because they said I had cartilage floating around. And if I didn't get the surgery, I could just sniff the wrong way. It could go into my brain. It would be bad. And
my God.
So I was like, I need to get the surgery. Get it out. So I went to Fargo my senior year, and like, I actually ended up losing to Vincent Robinson. I got teched by him. I got killed by him. He hit me with that wrist snap right by, got me pretty bad. It was all over Flow Wrestling at the time. It got blown up. But then I hurt my knee and I like defaulted out of the tournament. I went like 2-2 or 3-2 or something like that. So freestyle again, just not huge in Jersey, and I've never been great at it. So
well, and I think we've had a couple kids now out of Wisconsin that we know they like competing in it, right? They had fun doing it kind of thing, but they're like, I'm sticking to folk style. I really have no interest in freestyle whatsoever. It's like, all right. It's an acquired taste. They're all acquired tastes, especially Greco. Nobody really seems to spin off into that one too often, but we're getting better.
I want to dabble in Greco a little bit. I feel like I'd be pretty, like, even though my style has kind of changed a little bit once I got to college, like now I feel like I'd be a lot more comfortable wrestling freestyle. Like I think my freshman year, my redshirt year, I went to the U.S. Open, and I made the blood round. It was one round away from placing, but at the time I was a little bit fatter. I couldn't make 25, so I was up at 61 kilograms, like 34, 35, and that's what I was walking around at. I shouldn't have been there at that weight at all. I just, like, the kids were walking out, like I'm like 5'3", and the kids are walking out at like 5'8", and I'm like, looking at the kid, I'm like, oh Jesus.
5'3". That's, oh my God. That's another thing that floors me is we see you guys on TV, right? And you're all built, right? You're athletes. You're built athletes. And you walk down the hallway and you're like, hey, there's Steve Mocco. I'm almost the same height as that guy. Holy, like, that's crazy. And then you're like, I'm 5'3", 5'4". I'm like, that is the shortest man I think I've stood next to is 5'3", 5'4".
I get that a lot. People see me, they're like, that's Dean Peterson. Why is he so small? I'm like,
Liam's getting a complex. All of his cousins are like super, super tall. His cousin's like number 7 in the country as a quarterback. He's out of California. He's like 6'3". Liam's like 5'6", 5'7", if that.
Oh man.
So there's definitely a complex when it comes to wrestlers. But when you're kind of starting to navigate through high school, I mean, you're having fun folk style. You're in a great area. And obviously freestyle just isn't like really something you're striving for. But what are your goals once high school hit? Were you starting to already kind of look at colleges and everything like that when you got like your freshman, sophomore year, or Was that a distant thing in your head at that point?
I never really thought about where I wanted to go college-wise. I kind of just wanted teams to reach out or whatever. But what I made the mistake of doing is I committed really, really, really early in the process. Okay. So originally, I wasn't committed to Rutgers, so I was committed to Princeton actually. Oh. So it was the other Jersey school, and like I just started to have a lot of doubts about it because like it's a rich kid school for the most part, and like you wear suits to class, and I'm just like I don't know if I don't fit the bill for that at all. You know, I'm like a Jersey kid through and through. I'm not like that. I don't want to say like snotty nose, but I'm not like I'm not the suit and tie type of guy. So I was like, and I had a conversation with one of the coaches. And they're like, you can be a chameleon for 4 years. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Right. So when I was at Fargo, one of my coaches was like, Saul Goody, like the Rutgers coach, and was like, hey, if you guys needed 25, Dean's thinking about decommitting from Princeton. And that's kind of how the ball got rolling on that. And I ended up committing like 2 months before school started. I ended up switching over to Rutgers. So I didn't really get to talk to a bunch of schools. I talked to like, I think West Virginia and even like Penn State had asked for my transcripts and then they kind of like ghosted me, which is funny.
Yeah. Harvard did the same thing to Liam. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I didn't get it. Like, why ask for my transcripts and then we give them to you and then you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Thanks for the paperwork. See you later. Yeah. So when you're looking, even in the process, like you decommitted, what was that like though? Because we've had a couple guys here that like, Eric Barnett, he committed to North Carolina first, then he went to the Badgers. Did you catch a lot of shit for that? Was there blowback for that?
Trust me, trust me, like it was probably worse than like, because I've gotten some blowback from like obviously going to Iowa and committing to Iowa and everything from Jersey guys, but it was probably way worse when I decommitted from Princeton because like
crosstown route.
I had like obviously at the time because Pat Glory was the 125. I had like that dude like flipping on me a little bit. I had some like other guys at the RTC that weren't happy with it, and they're like, "We trained you." I'm like, you guys, because the thing is at the time that was also that kind of what went into my decommitment is it was during COVID and I was trying to train with the guys that I could train up there with. Yeah. And they wouldn't get me with those guys. And I'm like, how am I supposed to like be a part of this if you guys won't even let me train with the people I need to train with?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that's interesting you say that because I know, that when Liam goes around and he's able to train at certain places, things like that, like they're pretty open. They're like, oh yeah. If you want to practice, just let us know so that way we can get him set up ahead of time. It almost sounds like they're kind of like, yeah, no, we don't want to show them how good you are yet.
Like recently Jersey's been getting better, but for the longest time they were really like tight knit and people wouldn't let you into certain clubs if you went to this club. Like I wasn't allowed into what's it called? So one of the bigger clubs in Jersey is Short Thing. So I wasn't allowed to go to Short Thing because I beat up the kids or the guy's son that owns the club. I beat him like 6 or 7 times in high school. So he just like wouldn't let me train with other Short Thing guys or be at that club. Like I was like banned from Short Thing. I was never allowed to be in there.
There's some closeted kind of crazy shit like to hide people away. But I mean, I can't bag on it too much because before Liam was even in high school, his youth tournament was coming up and he was at Kaukauna practicing with Kaukauna kids. So he was in that group, right? And there was a dad that wanted his kid to be able to come up into like Kangaroo to practice, and Liam was up there and they knew that he was going to wrestle Liam at state. Like, no, we can't. No, you guys can't.
Yeah, I never got that. Like, you're two of the best. If you're two of the best kids in the state, why aren't you going to wrestle? You're going to wrestle anyway. Just wrestle. Yeah. It's wrestling. Have fun. Go out there, wrestle.
Yeah, it's going to make you even more interesting in state tournament. Let them see your secrets a little bit. See what happens. Can you readjust by the time it comes around? Let's see what happens. But I get strategy. I understand. I just like to make fun of stuff once in a while too. But the absurdity of things. But when you decided to go to Rutgers and with the it's not that far from home kind of thing. What were your thoughts on a school in general? Were you ever at the point like, I got to get out of Jersey. I want to go here. I want to, go to here, but you just never got the offer kind of thing. Was it Iowa? Were you looking at Iowa when you were looking at colleges at all?
I never got the call from Iowa. I'll be real. I didn't think they had any interest in me. One of the schools I was really interested in was Stanford because I wanted to go where it was like nice all the time.
Yeah.
But the worry for me is at the time, that's when Stanford's program was getting cut. And I wanted so bad to like go out, get out of Jersey and do whatever. But I was so worried. I'm like, are they going to lose their program? And now I'm not going to have somewhere to wrestle. Like, I'm worried about that at the time. I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? But I think after like my freshman year at Rutgers, I got some like, not like under the table offers for the most part to go. I rounded 12 and people were like, well, you know, if you want to come here, you can come here. And I feel like I should have jumped at it at the time because I know I could have grown a lot more in my college career if I was somewhere else.
Sure.
For the most part, I felt like Rutgers was the comfortable decision, like the safe choice. You know, it's like you said, it's close to home. You know, I've been here my entire life. Like I'm not putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. And that's when that's where I believe is like you get better when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations for the most part. So
you're gonna have fun on Iowa. You're definitely gonna be made uncomfortable. They are gonna. So I'm new to how kids work out, right? Like I'm not into. I see YouTube stuff, but I'm not like trying to scroll down to find out what high school kids are doing to work out, right? So when I took him down, they're like, you're doing sauna workouts. Like, it's crazy. Like, I never understood the amount of workout stuff you guys put into your day. And then DeSanto put him through something. And there's a couple other kids. I think Cassiope's little brothers are down there too. So those guys are going through, and I was like, oh, how was that? You guys can't hang out in the sauna talking? He's like, no, we were working out in the sauna. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
No, look. I don't like to be in the sauna too much, but we do this thing called the Russian sauna. So what we'll do is we'll go in for 20. You'll bring some fruit in, bring in some water. You're eating, drinking, you're moving around a little bit. Go out, eat and drink fruit, and then you come back in for 10, 5, whatever. It's like you go lower, lower, lower. Yeah. But definitely working out there. I do some crazy workouts. I do some really not because like even like this morning. So when I weight lift, I don't try to lift heavy. What I'll do is I will go. I think I did this morning probably over 400 or 500 reps of like different types of bench press for my chest.
Wow.
So we started out with just regular bench press. We did about 50 reps. We went an incline bench press with a plate on each side, 50 reps. And then we went isolated, one arm at a time, 50, 50, then both of the same, 50. Then we did some hangs. And we were doing, obviously, there's a couple machines you do for them too. But I'm really big on like endurance training my muscles so they can go longer and last longer. I'm not super big on like the muscle aspect of it and ego lifting like super, super heavy weight. I'm not going to try and deadlift 400 or 600, whatever many pounds AJ Ferrari does or whatever.
Mr. Twitch.
Mr. Fast Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah, you can smell that guy's hair gel through the screen. I swear to God. But but that was the thing too. Like with Liam, with the conditioning, like it's crazy on the amount of levels that you guys jump and have to jump going into college because you're wrestling also other state champions and other state qualifiers and other guys that have made world teams or something like that. So you're not walking into a room with some kids that just thought I'd try wrestling this year. You know, it's not like that. So you have to be well conditioned. And I think I'm starting to. We're looking at Liam a little weird sometimes right now. He's like, I'm gonna go work out. I'm like, seriously, like that much? Okay,
again,
cool. You can't look at it, again. Like you just did it like this morning. But now, like knowing you guys and hearing the stories that I get to hear from you, I'm like, okay, it makes more sense. All right, I will not get in the way as much. I'll make sure that you get your workout. But were you guys doing that in your high school program?
You know, we would have some. The thing is with my high school program, like I said, like our program wasn't really good. So what I would end up doing is I would end up going to club practice over like regular practice. So like I would teach the technique at my high school practice, and then I would go to elite where the room is 100 degrees, literally 100 degrees. They make it as uncomfortable as possible, very hot, and you're like you go right in you warm up for 10, 15, and it's right in the live, and then technique. So you really have to like. I think that's the best way to do it because then you have to really concentrate your mind because you're tired from wrestling, you're tired from warming up, and if you really want to absorb the technique, you got to really mentally focus on what's going on in front of you.
I agree. I wholeheartely agree with that, and that's I think that's the biggest thing is just exhaustion because you think about it, overtime, third period, things like that. You've already been going for 6, 7, 8 minutes already, and man, and you're not wrestling again, guys that are new to this, and your body is struggling that whole time just to keep someone down or take them down. So and I think a lot of times, I mean, you were Coach Peterson pretty early, so I think a lot of times kids can take away the fact that they had good partners, guys that cared about the sport and cared about each other just in the room and having good camaraderie. And that goes a long way because, I mean, I'll tell you what, you can be a championship team and hate each other, and it can be the worst experience on the planet.
Yeah, no,
right?
I mean, I've always loved the teams I've been on. I've always been around guys that have been like a good team atmosphere. But yeah, no, I've never really been around like guys that aren't good in the locker room or fighting with each other. So I'm glad I've never been a part of any of that.
Yeah,
to be real.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So with your high school kind of career was coming to an end, you picked Rutgers. What was your last state tournament like in high school?
So that was my junior year. So
yes, that's right.
It was kind of weird. So the week before I was winning a match 11-3, and then I got put on my back and I almost got pinned. I ended up winning like 11-9. It was a close match, but I go to like, people were like, oh my God, he's not going to whatever. I'm the 1 seed going in like at 120. Yeah. So like I'm expected to do whatever. And like people are having doubts because I got put on my back the week before. And then I go into the state tournament and I don't have a single point scored on me. So nice. I gotta just, I ended up winning in the finals like 1-0. I rode the kid out for 2 minutes, but like he had his head in the mat the entire time. And funny enough, it was that kid's son of the club or whatever, because I wrestled him a lot. And then it's funny because the year I didn't wrestle, my senior year, he ended up winning his only state title of his high school career because I wasn't in the bracket, which, I was like, good for him. He got his state title, but it was funny because my coach called me up and he's like, yeah, the kid's not happy about it anyway because he didn't get to wrestle you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
But
I let him have that one. that one. It's cool. It's cool.
It's all right. He can have that one.
Yeah, it's all good.
I mean, it sucks because I'm only a 2-timer. I wish I was a 3-timer. I'm a 3-time finalist, 2-time state champ, but I really wish I had been able to wrestle my senior year. It kind of sucked. But
so, what was the call to not go to like school your senior year? Were you homeschooled and you were training, kind of thing? What was that all?
No,
about?
that's that surgery. I had that surgery on my nose.
That's right.
Yeah. So. The reason that the surgery, so I was trying to wait till the season was over, but what ended up happening was COVID. So it ended up pushing the state tournament about a month back. Okay. So I was like, I can't keep waiting to get this surgery because, like I said, if I sniff the wrong way, what if, cartilage goes in my brain or whatever? So I'm like, I need to get this surgery. I've been trying to schedule it for months. And like, I was told originally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be back after 4 weeks. And they're like, no. After 4 weeks, you can slowly get back into working out. Because if I go too hard right away, I'll just start getting like nosebleeds and mess up everything that I've already done. So I'm like, and they're like, yeah, you got another 6 weeks. I was like, and I'm like, oh, so I'm not even gonna get to wrestle. And I was like, this sucks.
That's horrible.
Yeah,
that sucks. Well, and Liam has, we don't know how it happened. Liam has the same affliction. He currently, it's difficult to breathe, so we actually give him like allergy meds, and when he doesn't need allergy meds, because
trust me, that's what I would do. But even now, it's like I regret getting the surgery because 2 weeks later I took like a knee to my nose and broke it again.
And that's why they said they won't give him the surgery until he's done competing. Yep. They won't do it until he's done, because they're like, if you get it done, it'll be great, things like that. But you're in a sport where if it just gets tweaked just a little bit, it's going right back to the way that it was. We're like, well, that sucks, man. You're kind of like half blind, can't breathe out of one nostril. So he's really got the card stacked against him a little bit when he goes to the matches. But well, at least you got it done. But it just sucks that it came right back and didn't even matter in the first place.
I can't breathe that well through my nose. I'll tell you that much. I'm a mouth breather at heart for most of my life. So
Liam, that's for sure. You guys are matching twins when it comes to mouth breathing. It was funny because he was just complaining about something today, and he puts his head back. You can see like the whole one side just collapsed over. It's like, poor guy. I feel bad for him. But it's what happens. I think I blamed my wife. I was like, it probably happened when he was born. It's nothing I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't beat him that bad. But no, it's I think when you jump that, I think going just into a college environment, I think guys get a little twisted. I think they sometimes get scared. They sometimes, they get homesick, you're in college, even if you're just an hour up the road or something too, you wind up I don't want to be here. I'm going to go back home, hang out with my buddies. What was your thought kind of when you jumped into college? Were you homesick? Did you, even though you're at Rutgers, not too far, but were you like, I don't know if I want to go to college?
It was definitely an adjustment. I wasn't like, I didn't want to go to college, but like I would come home on the weekends and be like, I want to come home for a little bit, whether it's for like a day or 2 days, I wanted to come home and just like be around like my brother and stuff and like spend time with him. Cause like, I'm really close to my brother, and like, even moving out to Iowa, it's going to suck. Cause like, I'm not going to see him as often. I'm not going to be around him, but like, at the time, like even when I got into college, I was like, damn, I want to go home a little bit. I was definitely homesick.
Yeah, my brother went to Parkside, which is like, I don't know, 2.5 hours south from us, and like he was homesick too. Like he still transferred back up to the college that was literally right in our town because he was so homesick. And then I was like, then he came back and he didn't want to be in college in general.
Parkside?
The wrestling coach?
Yeah,
Nick Becker.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different Parkside. I don't know, because would you know who John Trent is?
Nope.
Mm-mm. All right. Mm-mm. He went to like Lehigh. He wrestled Cale Sanderson in one of his NCAA finals and stuff.
Oh, really?
I think that he coaches at a school called Parkside, so that's why I was thinking about that. I don't know where that's at, but
it's probably another small. So Parkside's probably one of the as far as in our state, one of the better D2 schools that we have. Nick's done a really good job. He gets a lot of the Askren kids. He gets a lot of Askren kids that come down because Becker's an Askren kid himself, so. He's landed some pretty decent kids. He's also gotten some decent transfers to come into his school too. So kudos to him. I know everybody's kind of pissed off with the Badgers right now and things that are going on around there, but
they're not happy.
I think, I complain a little bit too, but I'm not even that. I'm not a Badgers fan, right? So it's like I get where the people are coming from. So it's like, yeah, hey, what the hell's up with it?
What's going on up there?
What is going on out there? Like I'm a Wisconsin guy. I'm hearing all my friends complain about it. Now I'm looking. I'm like, holy shit, they got a reason to complain. But so when you started in college, who were guys you were rolling around with in the Rutgers when you got in there?
Nah, I'm trying to think. I got to think of who was there. I was rolling around with Shaver, honestly, because he was the 25 at the time. Yeah. What's his name? Robinson was a guy that was leaving. He was Blair Academy. I'm trying to think of his first name. Oh man, Nico Messina, which was a Jersey kid I was rolling around with. Kletzos got in there the year after me. But at the time, there wasn't a whole bunch of like 25s when I got in, to be real. Like we didn't have a lot of like smaller guys to roll with. Like I tried to go with Seb as much as I could, but like Seb's like a 41 pounder and he's kind of bigger for me because that was my guy. But I tried to go with him as much as possible. I went with Joey O a little bit. Yeah. But that was kind of like the guys that I went. And then we had one transfer come in. It was oh man, I'm so bad with names sometimes, but I can't even think of it.
Horrible.
Yeah, no, my memory's shot right now because I can only because I've been in college for 4 years now. Thinking about my partners, my freshman year, I can't even remember who I was rolling with.
Did you consider was it hard? Was it something that you're like, man, this is a little tougher than I thought it would be?
The toughest part was stop being chunky because I walked into college. If compared to what my face looks like right now, and you looked at me my freshman, if we could get a picture up, I had long blonde hair. And I had a fat face. Like I was walking around at like 42 and I just was a pudge ball. Wow. In my own eyes, I was pudgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I don't know. I guess I wasn't in the hardest part was trying to make 25. I didn't make 25 at all my freshman or my redshirt year. So wow. So what ended up happening my redshirt year is I tore my hamstring in one of the preseason workouts sprinting across the football field. Just grabbed my hammy. I'm like, oh, whatever. And I'm like, Dina, you all right? I'm like, nope. Something just popped in my hamstring. Oh. And then I tried to come back for a couple like open tournaments and I got walking pneumonia and I was coughing up blood and I was in the hospital. And then I was trying to recover from that. And they're like, okay, we're going to put some contrast in your whatever to see what's going on in your lungs.
Yeah.
And I had an allergic reaction to the contrast and I started, I'm like, I can't breathe. And I started spitting up more blood. And I was like, so I didn't even get to my first college open tournament until January, second semester. And I ended up taking out Julian Clayabove from Arizona State at the time.
Yeah.
That was like my first big win. But at the time, we had this crazy scramble. I hurt my knee, and I was like, oh, man. I ended up defaulting out of the tournament again. I was like 2-2. And I wrestled one open tournament my redshirt year, which is not the type of redshirt year you want to have at all. So like I had a rough redshirt year, like all around. It was a tough time for me when I first got into college.
So was it like a legitimate tear in your hamstring?
Yeah, they were a little bit confused because usually when you tear your hamstring, you can see the bruising, but it was so deep in my hamstring. They're like, "Oh, you're probably fine." They X-rayed it and everything. Like you tore your hamstring pretty bad, and I'm like, I was out for, I think from October until like late December. So like I was out for like 2-3 months almost.
And I believe that. So I'm an old dude, right? And I played soccer. So I was like, I'm going to sign up for soccer again, right? And I'm in this adult league. I'm ready to just go kill it because I'm this dude who played semi-pro soccer. I can do this. And I get out there and I did a kick that I've been doing since I was 12 years old, straight up. I wailed on that ball so hard. And then when I woke up and got up, because I passed out almost from it, I got up and I was holding my leg and I looked at the ball. The ball went like maybe 20 feet away from me because I hit the ground so hard when I swung. And you're talking about how many months it was. I've never seen this underneath my leg because I never tore my hamstring in my entire life. Underneath was all black and blue. When you were mentioning the black and blue thing, all over, like the whole thing. And I didn't even pay attention to that. Like I was like, it just hurts. Right. There's no coloring. So I didn't even look at it. And I looked at the next day. I'm like, oh my God. I think I was at the gym. I was doing whatever I could to work out. And I just taking a shower, saw my leg. So yes, 2 to 3 months. I definitely believe you because that stuff hurt, man. That was bad.
No, yeah. And like you feel it for a little bit afterwards too. Like there's a constant, like that little like twinge of like pain, that like sharp pain pretty deep in the hamstring. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a constant flexing, like your muscles just flexing.
You're like constantly flexing your leg and you can feel it. And I'm like, oh my God.
Make it stop. I can't make it stop. Yeah. So I feel you on that. I did it in a completely horrible way as an old man who didn't stretch out and do the proper things you're supposed to. But it's crazy how that kind of ended your season. But were you down at did that kind of send you spiraling a little bit? Like, oh man, that's a rough take in your redshirt year,
Mentally, I wasn't probably in a great spot because I wanted to wrestle again. Like I got into college, I was ready to wrestle, I was ready to do all these things, and it's like I couldn't even compete my redshirt year. That was the whole point of like redshirt, is like, oh, I need to get some competition in, get against these college guys, see where I'm at. And I didn't really get to see where I was at against like the top guys, where I wanted to be, and all this other stuff. I was kind of just on the sidelines recovering from injury after injury. So.
So you had a good run. I mean, not a good run your freshman year, but you have a good spot. I mean, were the coaches pretty optimistic? Like, hey, we'll get this taken care of. We'll get you brought in. We'll make sure that you're all set for the next season. Maybe we'll get some in the off season for you. You can compete here. How does that go for guys in college when you deal with an injury? Like, what do the coaches wind up telling you?
I was not basically fully recovered, but they tried to get me in, like, that's the year I did the US Open and everything. They were trying to get me in competition after competition. So before I did the US Open, we had something called the National Freestyle Duels that we do in New Jersey. So I got a couple good matches at that. I was supposed to wrestle Vito, didn't get to wrestle Vito. I got to wrestle Caleb Smith at the time, and I beat him 4-3 in freestyle, which was my best. It was a fun match. So I did get to see where I was at a little bit, and that's kind of where, they were like, okay, he's ready to go. He'll be ready to go for the next season. Yeah. But at the time, Shawver was still at 25. So when I was coming in, they were telling me, oh, he's going to bump up to 33. But when I came in for my freshman year, Shawver came in and said, I want to go 25 still. So for the first 3 or 4 months of the season up until Midlands, we were fighting for the spot my freshman year. So I didn't even have the spot locked up because we went to a couple duels. I would have ended up wrestling Richie Figs my freshman year at some school in PA, but we were splitting matches that day. So I wrestled the first match, and I'm like, I wanted the Arizona State match, but since he had already been the starter, they gave him the match. He ended up losing like 7-6. It was pretty bad refereeing. He probably should have won the match, but he ended up losing, and that's when Richie was in like his freshman year, his redshirt freshman year too, because he was behind Courtney at the time. So definitely that beginning of my freshman year was pretty interesting for the most part, fighting for a spot.
Yeah, that could have been a sweet wraparound having that match again. Get him your freshman year and then come back around and pin him. Like, holy cow. We're gonna talk about that in a second because that's pretty fucking sweet to watch. Either way, because you walk into a tournament, you're hearing all this buzz, you hear expectations, right? Like, I mean, I was like, this guy should do this guy should do this, and then it doesn't happen. It happened all over the place at the tournament, right? I mean, it's just crazy. Did you find your freshman year, like, did they take you to the tournament? Were you able to be there?
They took me to Big Tens that year. I was able to go to Big Tens and watch everything and be around like what it was like to be at a Big Ten tournament, which I will say this, the Big Ten tournament is probably tougher than the NCAA tournament because there's a good guy every single round, even in the prelims. You're not wrestling any slouches. So
and that's I can't argue with that. I mean, it's in almost every conference though too. It's like, either way, you're going to be going against toughest guys that you should have been wrestling all year anyway. So that's like, oh man, how is this going to turn out this weekend? Because if you had a rough go, but when you kind of got into a position when you were put into the starting lineup, what was your first duel?
My first duel, oh man, I couldn't even. It might have been like something like Bloomsbury. It was actually like some light match that wasn't super difficult.
Yeah.
I can tell you what my toughest match of the first semester was, because like I had locked up the spot at Midlands because I ended up making the semifinals against Barnett from Wisconsin. So I was like my first like real match, and me and him were like talking to each other during the match, like in like a positive way. Yeah, because I was like, it was like talking smack a little bit, but it wasn't. So he was beating me at like 6-1 or 6-0 at the point. And then he was telling me to shoot. He's like, take a shot. I ended up scoring on him because he was pretty good at scrambling. I ended up winning the scramble, and I was like, yep, I got one. I was on top. I'm like, yeah, I got one. That's awesome. And he won like 6-3, but he was like, that was good. That was a good shot, whatever. And like we kind of exchanged words a little bit, but like it was a positive experience.
Yeah.
It was like positive, like trash talk. It was great.
You guys are bantering with each other. That's fine.
It was great, but that was definitely like my wake up call. I was like, you know what? You're here. You're there. Like it was 6-3. It was a close match. I'm like, this dude's already an All-American. You're ready to go. So
that's awesome. And it doesn't surprise me that Barnett. I had him. He's just from down the road, so I've had him on the show a couple times too. And just kind of and knowing who he is, and like you're talking about scrambling. Like I'll be honest with you, I love Eric, but man, that kid did not have a shot. He was a defensive wrestler coming out of high school.
He would not shoot.
And we were worried, like, because we were all excited for him. Like, I wasn't always a big Barnett fan. Like, a lot of people didn't like him coming out of high school, but it was fun watching him wrestle because he was so competitive. And he would let it fly if he needed to, right? If it was the last seconds, that kid was going to make sure he let it fly. But he just didn't seem to shoot. Loved Crackdown. Loved it when you shot on him because he like come around the backside a little bit and scoring you that way. But then when he got to Wisconsin, and I praise Gross for this one, he got this single leg, and it was like, oh man, wait a minute, he's got a shot. Like he's gonna start shooting. This is awesome. And he started getting better and better, but he couldn't get out from bottom either.
Yeah,
so that was another thing that was hard for him.
When I wrestled him, he rode me out on top because he was pretty good on top. Yes. But he didn't take that single leg on me. I took a high crotch, and he scrambled out of it twice and beat me up pretty bad. So.
Yeah, that was Eric. He was good at it. I mean, you couldn't argue with a kid who was good at something. That everybody's got their one thing. So I think that's kind of cool that you got the wrestler who's talking shit on the mat. Who's the biggest shit talker on the mat that you've ever wrestled?
Oh man, I mean, he might be one of the bigger ones because like he was talking smack on the mat, but. Who is kind of a little bit is Braden Davis from Penn State a little bit.
Is he really?
He was talking a little bit when I wrestled him the one time. I ended up losing to him, but I lost on a pretty I don't want to say BS because I don't like to say like I take accountability for my losses or whatever.
Sure,
but it was at the BJC, and at the time I took him down with like 30 seconds left, put him on his back, and then they didn't give me the takedown or whatever. I told my corner throw the brick, and they hand that brick right back to my corner and say there's no video review today.
Oh, what?
In a Big Ten duel, there was no video review because it like went out like right before the duel or something in the BJC, and I was like, "You're a Big Ten program. You're the best team in the country. You don't have video review right now." And that was like the week after the same thing. Not the same thing happened, but he had wrestled Kilcurry from Ohio State, and the dude tossed him with like 5 seconds left, and they waved off the call and everything. So like everyone was pretty heated about it too. They're like, Dean shouldn't have lost to Davis because it ended up going to overtime. And at the time, I don't want again. I take accountability for my losses. I had the flu at the time. I run off the mat because I'm trying to get to the trash can because I got to throw up. And they're like, get back to the center. I get taken down in like 20 seconds. Then I run to the trash can. I'm thrown up. And then it's a full pack BJC. So I have Penn State fans chirping me while I'm thrown up into the trash can. And I'm like, leave me alone, please.
That sucks. Why were you sick? Was it illness running through?
I think I had like a 101 or a 102 fever at the time. And I was just like, I was not in a position to be wrestling in front of as many fans as I was, but
okay. So now tell me about that position because that's interesting. A guy's wrestling injured, that's one thing. And I get it. There's either it's a big duel in the line kind of thing like that. But where's the decision making to wrestle sick, right? Like I'm running 102 fever, or I was throwing up before I came in. Where was it because I'm here? I need to make sure I do this kind of thing. Does it feel like it's a job? What was it?
So for the most part at Rutgers, I never really had a full on backup. We didn't have a lot of. We weren't deep at 25 at all. So like once I wrestled, like my freshman year when I wrestled Shavarov for the spot, they had to get him like a medical after, obviously, because they didn't want him to lose that year eligibility. So like he ended up getting like a little bit of an injury. They had something fixed up. He didn't lose that year, but we didn't have another 25. We didn't have someone behind me. So anytime I needed to go out there, whether I was hurt, sick, injured, I needed to go out there. And that's kind of what they told me that. I knew that going in, though. That's kind of what it is. It is not that it's a job, but it is your spot. It's my spot. Right. I won it. I wrestled for it. And that's what I signed up for. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I think even like the next year, we didn't really have like a guy that not that we didn't trust him, but we didn't have a guy that could compete behind me at 25 that would be competitive in the duel or be competitive against these other guys. So no matter whether I was injured or whether I was sick, I was going out there to wrestle.
Okay.
And this
it's an expectation.
And then this was the first year that I had a backup that could like, because Aiden Smith, honestly, I trained him all year. Great kid, great wrestler. It was the first time I had an actual backup. So, like, when I was sick, he got to wrestle the Michigan State match this year. Yeah, and he ended up winning in overtime, which is awesome. Like, I actually had a backup that could go out there and wrestle for me when I wasn't in a position to wrestle.
Okay. And that's kind of the intricacies that I think that a lot of kids don't get to see, because they're like, well, I don't know if I want to wrestle sick or if I want to wrestle hurt. I mean, sometimes, like you said, that was your spot. You wrestled for it kind of thing. And I think when you put yourself in a position to be on a team like that, in Big Ten, things like that, you're already above and beyond what you're thinking, what you need to be doing. And that's where you put yourself. And a lot of the kids do that, especially these high level kids. And I don't down them for it. Sometimes you kind of question, like, was it really worth it kind of thing? But in the end, like you said, otherwise your team's taking the L. Otherwise they're taking minus the 6. See, if you can go out there and just even if you don't win, if it's a -3, we'll take that over the -6 kind of thing. So I get it. And I commend a lot of you guys that, I mean, that's dedication to be like, hey, especially then having to go throw up and listen to people berate you while you're throwing out.
No, trust me. The Penn State fans are funny, but I chirp back at them, and I've said some things on Twitter at them, so we all know about that. I don't know if you know about it, but I said some crazy things after I beat Luke this year. I had to delete that tweet, but I wish I could have kept it up. The only reason I deleted it is because, my coaches were getting calls from administration. They're like, you got to delete that right now. And I'm like, okay, I will. But if I could have kept it up, I would have, because that's how, I mean, again, not that I hate Penn State, but, I don't like them. I don't think a lot of people like them, but it's not because they're the best team in the country. I have my reasons.
Right. And so that's the thing too. I think a lot of people get lost in this fact of like, oh, you just don't like them because they don't win. Some people have different angles on things, right? Like something might have happened to you, or something just might, I get worn in different ways than other people might, right? Like, and I told this to someone the other day, sometimes things wear me down, and I get to a point where it's like, I don't want to, this is stupid. And I point out the absurdity of things. Right. And that's kind of where I'm at. When you see anything that comes out like negative about me, it's because I've seen it about 30 times. I'm tired of seeing it. And now you're going to hear me be tired of seeing it. And that's what happens. So, and I don't blame it. You guys have to be able to have your reactions too. And it's just like being at a job, though. If my employer doesn't, hey, why are you posting that stuff about someone that they work at a company or something like that? You got to take that down. So I get that too. But you're still in a place where you're like, yeah, you know what? That was me. I did win that shit. Like,
you go back to the year before with the whole no brick, no review call. Like, I feel like Kale should have said something to me and been like, that is on us or whatever. And that's kind of where some of that comes from, is like, you guys did nothing, said nothing to me after that. Like, that's ridiculous that you guys let that happen, especially as the #1 program in the country, not having video review in the BJC, no less, with like 20,000, however many fans. Like, you guys are the best program in the country, and you don't have video review for a Big Ten duel. That's ridiculous.
Tell me your AV lab kids aren't hanging around that could hook some shit up. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You can't wait 5. You're gonna tell me someone wasn't recorded on their phone? They can't look at the broadcast right quick.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And so a lot of people were saying that during the whole thing, like, how is it not?
We're watching it live right now.
Yeah. Like someone's getting it in a database somewhere, right? We can pull that view back up, but yeah, that was a little different. And I think a lot of people are kind of getting lost in this whole duels thing too. Like, and you and I were kind of talking about before, but they have their own decision. They have their own reasons for doing something. We get it, but fans still have an opinion about why they're not seeing things, right? They still have a look of like, okay, well, if you're not going to do it, then why do you act like you're up here hoity-toity? Everybody else is all game to do it. You win a lot. You're respected because you win a lot, and people want to see you put that up and whatever it is. And sure, time of year, injuries may happen, things like that. But you and I were talking about that.
how many guys do you have in each weight class that you could pull up and just bring them to the duel?
It's not even just that. You also got to think, like, when the All-Star Classic's in November and you're sending Penn State guys, people can get hurt. They're wrestling the best guys in the country. What's different from the duels? There's nothing different from the duels. I get it's your whatever, but again, it's also in November. It's the beginning of the year. So if you do get hurt, you've got time to recover. So I don't get their reasoning at all. I think it's a little bit. I'll say it. I think it's a little soft.
It is. It's a little soft. Yeah, because we're worried about our national champion. And I think a lot of people are throwing the legitimacy of it's not even an NCAA event kind of thing under the bus too. It's like now you're diminishing something that everybody's been talking about what they've wanted for how long, right? To bring back, and it's just crazy. And you and I, there's certain things with Willie that I agree with on it, like how people are just being kind of a little ridiculous. I'm one of the guys that was like, fine, if they don't want to come, don't come. Don't invite them. Make them ask. Make them ask to join. Don't shut them out.
The thing that sucks is like people are like, oh, well, if Penn State's going, does it really matter? Yes, it still matters. Like, I get it. They're not going. It still means that there's going to be a dual meet championship, and the winner of that is the dual meet champion. Yeah. Like, we'll be crowned a champion, whether they're there or not.
Correct. And if I think someone else made a good point too. I think it was Popolizio had set up those collegiate duels. They weren't there the first year for that either. They waited, then it was the next year they're at it. So, maybe Kale's waiting to see what it's really like and kind of, watch it as a spectator to see what things are like. I get it. But at the same point though, too, we're still like fans, like, come on, man. Like, we want to see this shit. We're finally possibly going to see Iowa versus UNI, right?
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Oh yeah. I'm excited. Excited because I heard that's a pretty big thing, like out in Iowa.
It's been called out forever, and I know that Iowa gets a lot of crap for not accepting it because Schwab will put anything on the line. I love Schwab.
He talks a lot. Yeah, he talks a lot,
and I love it. But he puts up, right? Like the guy.
He's a great coach. I want to say he's a great coach, and he's tough
through a brick wall for that guy, and I'm 46. Right, like I'm not even ready to do that stuff. All right, well, and we're going to talk about you kind of getting to the Iowa decision here, and then we're going to kind of talk about that for a second. But we've been on for a while, and I know you got to eat because it's Easter dinner, man. Your mom's been cooking. So you've had a really good college career at Rutgers, right? You've formed some bonds. Not everything there is is just like any other kid at any other college. Not every single thing is expected. I can't talk all of a sudden. Like my X's are getting stuck. Not everything turns out as expected, right? But at the same point, though, too, things were learned. You still build bonds. You still have coaches that you have respect for, things like that, right? But so time comes to an end. You're at 4 years. You're coming up in your fifth year, and not every school has room or is allowing someone to stay for a fifth year. Nope, we're done here, kind of thing, and you jump off. So your decisions are your decisions, but. How let's talk about this again. You and I talked about it before we jumped on. How was your decision-making process with this whole transfer thing? Because it's crazy out there, right? NIL, all this other stuff. This was something that had been in your head for a little bit. So it wasn't something that just popped in. You're like, no, man, I'm done here. I'm going to go to Iowa. You're kind of thinking about something, a little bit of a move. So talk about that a little bit and kind of the decision-making process of that.
So there was a couple of things that like led up to the decision. So originally, I will say before I even hit the portal, I tried a lot to try and stay at Rutgers at the time because at the time I wanted to because I'm all about loyalty, staying, finishing out what I started here and all that. So I came back to the coaches and we had talked about some things and we had something worked out, and a lot of what they worked out ended up falling through. And like they had told me, they had basically made me some promises about some stuff, and they were telling me that these things were going to happen, and those things didn't end up happening. I won't get into the specifics of them just because I don't want to blow up everything online. But it led up to my frustration, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to hit the portal. I'm gonna DM Spencer Lee, see what I can get going, see these other schools, and then once I hit the portal, I was getting a good amount of calls. I was getting a good amount of offers. But what I noticed a lot of the time, like once I got into the portal, like once I was live, is I tried to get probably from 3 different schools pressure to make my decision on the first day.
Really?
Like over the phone without seeing the school or anything. They're like, we're going to offer you this, this, and this. And if you accept it, we'll give it to you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You won't have to worry about it. I'm like, I kind of want to go and like see what my options are a little bit, explore them.
Hell yeah. So that they were like, oh, well, that's not what we're here for. And then they're just done.
Yeah.
Okay. That's rough. But were they schools? Let's look at it this way, though, too. Were they schools that they were something you were actually considering? Or you're like,
a couple. Whoa. There were some that I was like, you know what? I would think about it because like a couple of them were still on the East Coast. They were a little bit further down south. But I heard they were getting some guys I didn't want to be on the team with. So that's kind of where my decision was.
That happens, right?
Yeah.
You have to be happy with your environment. And I can preach on about that too. You have to be happy with your environment. So
yeah. So I was just like, that was kind of what went into my, again, like I didn't want to get rushed into a decision in 24 hours. I wanted to, because it was also partly because in high school, I didn't get to go through that process. Like I said, like I committed early. I didn't get to explore my options and see what schools wanted to reach out to me. I was committed almost like a month or two after I could be contacted. So,
yeah. So as you're going through the process, obviously things blew up a little bit online, right? And we all know how Twitter can be. And I'm a part of the disease, not gonna lie. I'm one of the disease carriers when it comes to Twitter. I got caught up in the whole wanting to release information, right? It's kind of one of those things like, oh, it's kind of cool because you get clicks and likes and shit like that, and everybody kind of lives off that stuff, right? Especially when you're online. But I do try to kind of curtail things a little bit for you guys. Like I don't do announcements anymore, right? Like I don't. My theory on that, and I got into an argument with someone the other day, but not exactly just about this, but a myriad of things and things that I'd said. But my theory on the commitment thing is I think you guys should be putting out, I'm going to be making my announcement on so-and-so's podcast tomorrow, right? Or on Thursday. That's cool because it's your thing. It's your thing. Make the announcement. I don't care if you make the announcement. The announcement is not what bothers me. It's the people that are jumping onto a dick to be able to get some, clicks and likes to be able to do it. And again, I'm guilty. I did the same thing back in the day. I was trying to get big name high school kids to come on and make their announcements in Wisconsin, things like that.
The thing that really sucked is I'll just say he who shall not be named didn't just leak my commitment. He said I was in the portal 2 days before I was even live in the portal. So he was basically not, putting me in a spot, but he's making it look like I'm in a portal that I'm not in yet. You know what I mean? Like I had 2 days before I'm live. Like it's a process. You have to go through it or whatever. And like, it's almost like he was trying to get me in trouble in a way. And I was like, that's just really, really weird. Right? And then I wasn't even done with my photo shoot with like the Iowa singlet. And it was leaked on Twitter that I was committed to Iowa. I couldn't believe it. I was like still taking pictures and people are posting like I was still in Iowa when people because I didn't want to release it right away. I wanted to wait a couple days, celebrate a little bit on my own.
Yeah.
And it was already everywhere. And like even when I first hit the portal, people were committing me to Iowa before I even did it because of who said what he said. You know what I mean? I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like at the time that he leaked that I was committed to Iowa the first time before I actually committed, I hadn't even gotten my offer from Iowa yet. I hadn't even talked to brands yet. I hadn't even talked to the coaches yet.
Yeah.
It was kind of ridiculous. So,
to me, I'm not going to say privacy, right? I mean, you guys are in the public eye. It's just like a football guy thing like that, but
we're athletes.
Like you said, you hadn't even gotten done with a photo shoot yet, right? Like, so that's where some of this stuff it gets a little absurd to me. And that's the stuff that I wind up getting worn by and things like that, the absurdity of things. And then, but sometimes you have a little guy that makes the call that may know someone, right? That says something out there. And then, but because they're not big enough, like then they're just some new guys that are absurd. Their opinions are weird, things like that. Some people do. You and I talked about it too. Like my opinion about the Penn State thing might be dumb, right? Like as far as I'm like, just let them ask them, make them request it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't shut
I think
them
that's
up
funny though. That's funny.
Make them ask. You didn't want it so bad before. It's fine. You don't need it then. Just if you want to come in, you can ask us. But I think a lot of guys wind up getting, I guess, the lesser look when, like social media kind of stuff. And then you guys are out there, like you said, you want to enjoy the moment. You want to kind of do things. And then guys, fat dudes like me sitting around doing nothing, wind up ruining things because we want to tell people stuff. And it's fun banter. I'm not gonna deny it, and it creates a buzz. So I'm not gonna deny that either. But sometimes we have to look at a line, just a little bit of a line, just a smidge, like maybe even messaging the guy, hey, is this true? Can I say something?
That's I had a lot of people reach out and like, hey, can I do this? Can I post this yet? And I'm like, 100%. I'm glad you asked me before you did it, though.
Right. And I'm not going to be the guy that's like, I do everything perfect. But when it comes to, I did one announcement and I felt weird, right? Like, because I'm the one who went to the kid, and I was like, God, this doesn't feel like, and they were fun. They had a good time doing it. It was fun for them. They still made their announcement, but I felt weird about having to like ask a kid to do that. Would you do it on my show? Would you do it on my show? So
no, I get
guys that do it, it's cool, whatever, you do your thing. But I think a lot of guys that want to be a part of that, and then they are a part of it and they say something and they get called out, like there's some noobs and shit like that. And they're like, hey, actually that guy had more information than you did. And it was accurate. He was a little more respectful about it and didn't call someone a retard for it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where I sit with it. And I feel, again, you athletes are in a different position. It's your information, so the respect thing for me goes a little bit further, because I wasn't a famous athlete, but I was an athlete nonetheless that was, doing things in an area of people that are cameras are around, and you can't say certain things, you can't do certain things, and you guys have rules you have to follow. So who knows if someone's saying something that could have broken a rule at the same time too, when it comes to NCAA rules, because not everybody knows all those rules. So
yep.
We appreciate you guys allowing us to do the things that we do.
Yeah.
As I guess I'm not really gonna call myself, I guess I'm not really newsworthy. I'm not a news guy. I'm not a news guy. It's not how I am.
I guess that's not the way to put it. Media, maybe just like media in general. Yeah, that works. It encompasses a lot. So
right. So, I respect the guys that do it, and I understand that certain guys are doing certain things, and it is what it is. But it's just sometimes, like I said, there's got to be that line. There just has to be that line, and I think you guys are stuck under the bus sometimes with it, but you guys have fun with it though too. I think seeing some of the reactions that you guys get online too.
When I saw someone just draw with like MS Paint the Iowa singlet on me over my Rutgers singlet, I was like, "Yep, that's my profile picture." That's hilarious.
That was great. Yeah, I love that one. It was just odd, just draw like crayon.
It looks like a dress, and I'm like, oh my God.
That was awesome. So you're gonna be in Iowa. You're excited to be there. I'm excited to see you there, finishing up. What are your goals, I guess, academically there? What are you going to be doing academically there?
So what I have to do here at Rutgers is I'm taking some summer courses to finish up my degree a little bit, because I was going to spread them out over the next year or so and just graduate as like a regular without going to like a graduate program. So by the time I get to Iowa, I'll be a graduate. So I've got a major in psychology with a minor in criminology. I'm hoping I can get into like a forensic psych program over at Iowa, which is like I'll interview like insane people and figure out if they're actually insane and stuff after they commit crimes.
CSI guy over here.
Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I'm into a little bit. So
you'll be the guy that maybe kind of dig into some of these minds that's walking around doing shootings and stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
If we save them, if they're saved, that's a guy that I want to open his brain up and figure out what makes someone fire the way that they fired. No pun intended. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
What's the thought process, basically?
Yeah.
The
insanity behind it all. So that's cool. That's kind of a fun degree, because a lot of times you see, like, I think I remember when we first got back into wrestling, we were watching the Nationals, and every Penn State guy that came out, kinesiology.
Yeah.
It's cool to see you're doing something kind of different. You're doing, I think some guys are going to do some financial stuff, but the little criminal investigation stuff.
Criminal stuff. Sweet. Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah. It'll be fun. Trust me. I've been at it for a little bit now. Once I got like into my minor, into the criminology aspect, I was like, because I was trying to decide between like sports psych and like forensic psych, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Forensic psych's a little bit more interesting.
It definitely is. It definitely is. You might still run into some wrestling minds there anyways. You never know.
Yeah, I think for sure I will. I mean, I know there's some crazy people in the wrestling world, so I'll definitely run into them eventually.
When do you move? When do you decide to move?
So my lease in Iowa starts on June 1st. So my lease in New Jersey is up on the 25th of May, but I will be out there for the camp that Spencer's doing with Dylan,
yes.
That L40 camp. I'll be out there on the 17th for that. So I'll be out a little bit early, or out to Iowa. So I'll fly out there and then fly back to Jersey, but I'll be out permanently in Iowa on June 1st, June 2nd. So
that camp is on the Bufu app. So you need to go check that out and get on there. And that is something else that I want to talk to you about. So training partners. We kind of talk about it a little bit too. And obviously the RTC at Iowa is really not that shabby when it comes to training partners, is it?
Pretty good.
So with the prospect of having those training partners, are you eyeing up a little bit more into the freestyle world? What do you think?
That's basically that was one of the biggest decisions in coming to Iowa for me, is like, I would look at the other RTCs of these other programs and I'm like, there's just so many guys at Iowa. You've got Spencer Lee, Ayala, DeSanto, even like Dennis is one of the coaches.
Yeah.
You've got Ironman still there. You've got, you got Joey Cruz, you got the other Peterson there. There's just so many guys for me to train with that I know that if I want, like I told him, I'm like, I want to go into freestyle. I want to give myself at least one chance at the Olympics and stuff. And I know Spencer's the guy, but I'd love to be in that room and train and try to get better at freestyle and then throw my hat in the ring, whether it's in freestyle or Greco or either or both. Like try it all out,
Yeah.
It's something that I'm definitely interested, because I don't want to just be done wrestling after college. I want to keep going. Like I love this sport so much. I've been doing it forever, and I want to keep going, keep doing it.
You could do the next best thing and piss everybody off and wrestle for Italy.
I could do that. They haven't had anybody good since Frank Chamizo, though. So
that's what I'm saying. Bring him back a little bit, right? You go over and train with Frank just for a competition. You get up and beat Spencer, right?
Oh man,
no, Spencer. We're not saying that. We're not saying that. It'd be fun.
Yes, look, I still got to train with him the next year. He's going to beat.
I know, right? I didn't make him say anything. It was me. It was all me, Spencer. He said nothing. So, I'm excited to see you on the move. It'll be fun watching. It'll definitely be, your environment's going to change, my friend. Let me tell you that much.
I'm excited.
We had season tickets for 2 years. I was a Hawkeye fan forever. I mean, I grew up with Brands Brothers, right? Like that's what I was fed. That's what I was given to watch when I was a kid for wrestling. Like these are the guys we're going to be. So my brother and I tried to be those guys. So I've always been a Hawkeye fan. I'm now a Cavalier fan, right? My son's going to be going to Virginia. I'm always going to be a fan of wherever he goes. Hawkeyes are always going to be like in the shadow back there, just still kind of waiting behind. As much as I'm a Cavalier fan, I'm still a Hawkeye fan. So 17,000 screaming, right? I don't know what a state tournament's like for you guys in high school, but holy man, you are about to experience some definite fandom and some craziness. And it's one of the more electric environments in wrestling, in wrestling in general. And I'm excited to see in black and gold. So if you got any shout outs, man, you're doing that camp. It's again through the Bufu app. Hey, what do you got going on? Anybody you want to shout out at all?
Oh man, I don't even know if I can't do shout outs right now. I've been talking for an hour and a half. I wish I could shout people out, but I don't know if I could right now. Like I've enjoyed talking but my mind is probably fried a little bit after talking I've been going from the beginning of my wrestling career until now, and I'm just like, whew.
Yeah. And I appreciate that.
Obviously I'm doing that camp out in Iowa on the 11th. It's in Albany. It's only a couple hours away from Iowa City. So,
cool.
That's probably the one thing I could shout out is like, I'm going to be doing that with Jordan. That'll be exciting. Maybe I'll teach my Navy series, my secret sauce a little bit. The thing I pin Richie Figs with and stuff. Teach that cradle.
Come hide the phones though. No phones out when
no
you're
phones.
That.
No phones. No phones.
Right on. That's cool. Well, congratulations on the move, man. It's gonna be fun watching. I appreciate you here. We're gonna talk for just a second when we hang this up, but man, it's been another episode of the Vision Quest podcast with Mr. Dean Peterson of Rutgers, soon to be Iowa. We appreciate it, man. Everybody, we're out.
Peace.
All of our episodes are brought to you by Appleton Tattoo, located at 117 South Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin, right off the main drag on College Avenue. You can't miss them. I've had some work done. I have a Celtic cross that covers my back that was done by Jason. We're not done yet. Jason Winans and crew, the artists that he have there, those guys are the best in the Fox Valley. They are definitely one to go to if it's something that you've just been kind of throwing around. They'll make you feel comfortable. It's a very clean environment, very nice crew, and very willing to get done whatever you need done when you need it done. You can message them on Facebook. I know they're on Facebook. You can give them a call at 920-604-8289 and get in touch with Jason Winans and crew at Appleton Tattoo, located again in Appleton, Wisconsin at 117 South Appleton Street, right in Appleton. Very flexible hours, great crew, clean environment again. I would not send you anywhere else except for these guys. Appleton Tattoo.